Welcome to the Sunday edition of the PFF Forecast. It is the 9th of May when you're listening to this, potentially. We are recording this a few days earlier. We're going to hit the AFC Win Totals now that the draft has commenced, and there are some new ones. The new price is posted, and it's going to be a great show. I'm looking forward to seeing how Eric's going to convince himself to bet the Chiefs over. It's going to be really exciting. Let's rock.
Do I really need any convincing? They're basically what? Andy Reid is like 7-0 to the over since joining the Chiefs.
I got to be honest with you. Let's actually start with the AFC West.
Well, because this is the most compelling. We are recording this on Wednesday the 5th. So if any of the Aaron Rodgers stuff resolves itself completely, this will be,
you'll want to not listen to this part.
Yeah.
Fast forward. But I doubt that would change the Chiefs number. Maybe the price a little bit.
The Chiefs over under maybe not, but the division
odds, absolutely. Sure. But the Chiefs number has been 12 the whole way through. It's actually now out to -121 to bet the over, plus 100 on the under. Excuse me. Chargers is 9 -110 to both sides. Denver Broncos, is that actually up? I think it is.
8.5. It was 9, but the Broncos, it's been
moving.
8.5 over -155. So this is up a full win and some price since that the news has come out. There's very much the betting market is believing that they are the favorite to take on Aaron Rodgers here.
The Las Vegas Raiders are 7 -110 to both sides. Now, interestingly, the Raiders opened at 7.5, and it's now down. So that one has moved. Let's actually start with the Raiders. Do you think that Raiders number moved because of Aaron Rodgers?
It could.
Like they're the weakest team, and so when Rodgers comes in, now they have no shot at beating the Broncos?
I actually think it was probably like they were one of the teams where their draft kind of hurt them. Like the dysfunction that the Raiders exuded during their draft I think caused some markets to be a little nervous about them. In addition to the fortification of the Chargers, right? Like Greg Rosenthal tweeted out today, he's like, my favorite part of the football season is Chargers hype season. Like we're in it again, right? So like all these teams are just like, the Raiders just catch strays when all these other teams like do good things, I guess.
So are you saying you'd take the over?
For the Raiders? I was under the Raiders last year. I actually don't hate over 7 because, like, what could their defense get any worse? They continue to invest in the secondary, which we like, right? Trayvon Merrick is he was the -400 to be the first safety. He wasn't. He was the third taken. Mullen, Arnett, Abram. At some point, these guys have to be good. Cleveland Farrell, Max Crosby, Yannick Ngakoue.
Wait, Cleveland Farrell has to be good at some point? I didn't know that.
I mean, at some point, some of these cards have to flip over and do well. I mean, they got Kwiatkowski at linebacker. They got Littleton at linebacker. They're not. It's not for lack of trying on that side of the ball. It's just literally not being able to do much. And on offense, they do need some wide receiver help for sure. Waller is a good player. They need Henry Ruggs to step up, but Derek Carr's been pretty good the last few years. Over 7 doesn't seem all that egregious to me, especially considering there's uncertainty with respect to Denver, and there's also the fact that the Chargers are the Chargers. And like, my favorite thing this fall is going to be to figure out how that team's going to end up with a losing record with all the players they have.
This is the year for the Chargers. If this isn't the year for the Chargers, they'll never have a year, okay? They're just the Phillip Rivers LT era is going to be the last one. Because if they can't figure out this year with all that talent, I mean, that team is oozing talent. They drafted another great set of talent once again. Rashawn Slater falls them at 13. They pick him up. They get Asante Samuel Jr. at 47. That's incredible. That's an amazing value. They're going to be so talented. But I think the Raiders over 7 is one of my favorites.
Mm-hmm.
And here's one of the things that I always look for. We talk about this a lot, where it's like you go in, you look at the numbers, and you just go, oh, yeah, they suck. The Raiders are one of those teams where you look at the numbers, you go, yeah, they suck. But that's where math can help you out a little bit. You know, it evens out your gut reaction. And one of the things that I think was interesting is looking at the results of our simulation. This is, you know, them going over 7 is not
Dude, they can lose 10 games and this bet pushes, man. Like it's not
exactly.
We
have it going over nearly 2/3 or a little over 2/3 of the time,
right?
Which is more than break even for -110. I really like the Raiders over 7, especially because it allows me to not directly fade the Chargers or the Broncos. If either thing breaks for them, right? So if the Broncos don't get Aaron Rodgers, then they're a much worse team because they're playing, Teddy B or Drew Lock. If the Chargers have Chargerian things happen to them, as you mentioned, then, that they're a worse team. And you talk about the Chiefs. The Chiefs are still not a deep team. They've really helped their offensive line.
No.
But if a receiver goes down, if that receiver is Tyreek Hill, or if Patrick Mahomes gets nicked up at all, and the Raiders have always played, the Chiefs really
are
well.
Second best team in the NFL in avoiding wide receiver yards on defense. The team that has given them a ton of problems has been teams with great tight ends like the Las Vegas Raiders and the Tampa Bay Bucks. Here's another thing too. The division that the AFC West plays is the NFC East, which is notoriously bad. Every single AFC team, and we'll talk about this in this episode specifically, the 17th game for every single AFC team is at home. So that, again, they get the Chicago Bears at home as their 17th game. They also get the Cincinnati Bengals, as a team. They, none of this means we don't know how good all these teams are going to be, but it's not, their schedule is not a murderer's row. They also get the Pittsburgh Steelers, who are not going to be good this year. So I think that there's 7 wins on this schedule at least.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about. I don't know if we should even really talk about the Broncos here because it's
we don't know. I mean, their defense should be really good.
If 8.5 is up there, are you just taking over right now? I mean, that's a full win up from where you would have gotten it, where we bet it, right? We really liked over 7.5. So I'm personally, if you're betting with me, which I don't know why the fuck you would be, but if you are following our every word, I'm not betting over 8.5 right now.
I have some 13-1 for them to win the division.
We bet them to win the division,
and we had them at 7.5 earlier. You just look like this. I think this was the most sage advice we gave either on the PFF Daily Betting Podcast or this podcast about the draft. Once you have Zach Wilson at -167, don't split tens. You have a good hand. Don't cut it in half, right? If you have Broncos over 7.5, it's a good bet. Don't do anything. Don't add more to it. Because if you get bad luck and they win 6 games, you lose twice. Just 7's a good number. Sit with it. Eat the cleve for lunch until the season's over, and be happy you were on the right side. This 8.5 is just enticing you to do some dumb things. So leave the Broncos alone. Chargers, again, if you want to bet over Chargers, that's between you and God at this point.
It is literally. That's who you'll have to answer to. By the way, you should bet with me when we win.
And ignore me.
I don't want to hear anything about it. Although, look, I've been spot on of late on all of my cleve, all the cleve that we've been eating. The Chiefs, are you doing anything with that number?
No, I haven't bet. I talked about this on Twitter the other day, which of course everybody should follow.
Interesting.
Along
I didn't
to.
know you tweeted.
Yeah. I think I've bet the Chiefs over, so Andy Reid's 7-0 to the over. I think I bet it once. I just had it's always been no, that's a dumb bet. Going over 11.5 is a dumb bet. And I don't bet under for them. I don't think under 12's a particularly good bet here because you think they're losing to an NFC East team? Fuck no.
No.
I
do not.
Do you think they're losing to an AFC North team? Maybe Baltimore, but they've absolutely.
I don't think they're losing to Baltimore.
They've absolutely.
The Browns are by far the tougher team. The Browns, and let's actually transition to the North here. This is a fascinating division. So the Ravens with Rashad Bateman, who they added in the draft, it's 10.5. It opened at 11 minus 125 over. It's now 10.5 minus 155 over. Very interesting to me. The Browns got that half win. They opened up 9.5 minus 150 to the over. They're now 10 minus 110 on both sides. Your Pittsburgh Steelers, who you love so much, still 8.5. It's minus 125 to the over, plus 103 to the under. And our Cincinnati Bengals 6.5 minus 110 both sides. Should we start? Let's start with the Browns and the Ravens here, and maybe with the Browns.
There is no money to be made on the Browns and Ravens.
Oh, well then maybe not.
The Browns and the Ravens are. They should be the favorites to win the division. They should be lined with double-digit wins, all that kind of stuff. They're both really good. They both have some things in their makeup that could be tail behavior. Mayfield could play poorly. Lamar could get injured or play poorly. Both defenses could get injured. But, they're a team that we should expect to win the division or to compete for the division. They're teams that we should expect to win double-digit games. They're very good. And I think everybody knows they're very good at this point. No one – last season the Browns snuck up on people, especially given how much they got, blown out in week one, right?
Yep.
The Ravens stuck up on people with an easy schedule in the second half of the season, especially we sort of all wrote them off after they got blown out by the Chiefs in week 3. Those two teams, I think everybody knows. Everybody knows if you want to bet against those teams, good fucking luck. If you want to bet over on them, you're betting bad mathematical plays, right? Mm-hmm. We got some Ravens under 11. It's now 10.5.
Yep.
I'm happy with that.
Yes.
I'm nervous as fuck about betting under Ravens anyway. It's just the way it is. Those two teams for me, it's one of those where the books they're begging you to bet over, and over is a negative EV play because everybody and their mother likes betting over on great teams, and the Browns and the Ravens are great teams.
Yes, I could not agree more with the Ravens. I liked getting under 11 at that price. I'm fine with it, and the Browns are interesting because they have been getting praised left and right by us, by a lot of different people, for what they've done in the offseason, and it may be getting to the point where they are starting to get a little overrated. And so if you look to the division markets, you may see some opportunity there. I remember betting the Browns, I think it was plus 185. They're now plus 150. The Ravens are plus 125. Steelers plus 400, and the Bengals are 20 to 1. Are you going under on the Steelers?
Yeah.
8.5.
Yeah. They're giving me a plus 103.
Yes.
I'm also no on their playoff. Let me make sure I can make this. I can see this. I bet this.
The Steelers are in a weird position. They're in a position kind of similar to the Saints.
Oh wow, Steelers no to make the playoffs minus 190. To all the people who are getting after us right now, I've had the same response, which is you're like, oh, you want to doubt the Steelers? Who are you to doubt the Steelers? And we talked about this on last show. They're a storied franchise, one of the best in the league history. The market tells you though they're 1-5 to win the division. They're minus 190 to miss the playoffs. We're not the ones that hate on the Steelers. The Steelers hate is a consensus opinion right now.
The only people that don't hate the Steelers are the
Steelers fans, right? Which that's
the point.
So here, I said I might even I actually at minus 190. I don't want to bet no to make the playoffs, but plus 103 to go under 8.5. I'm all day there. I'm all day. That's my favorite bet of the division.
Same. Although
our Bengals.
Now, I do want to say a few things about the Steelers here. I thought it was very interesting to hear Alejandro Villanueva today. He goes to who does he get signed by?
The Ravens. Ravens picking dollar bills up off the floor. Yeah.
The Ravens go get the best offensive lineman that the Steelers had is now playing for the Ravens. Okay. The Steelers' offensive line is in trouble. And you know who's not exactly built of stone or is built of stone but crumbles easily is Ben Roethlisberger. this could be Dwayne Haskins season quickly. And let me tell you, if it's Dwayne Haskins season, it's tank for Spencer Rattler season. That's the season it is. Like, Dwayne Haskins is not going to be the answer there. I'm sorry. And their offensive line is in trouble. Their biggest pickup of this offseason is a running back who's going to have to try and put the fucking team on his back.
By the way, a great story. Like, he did the draft show in the homeless shelter he used to live in.
Dude, like such a cool dude.
Yeah.
Such
I mean,
cool
we're not ripping on Najee Harris.
I hope Najee Harris is the best running back in the NFL. I
But-
really do. It's about the team process. And their offensive line stinks. Their quarterback is not an above average quarterback anymore. They do not have an above average, maybe top 12 receiving core. And their calling card is going to be defense again. And defense is unstable. We saw that. They got a couple of injuries and, you know, they got knocked back down. So I agree 1,000%. I do really like the Bengals over. I think Jamar Chase.
We should bet a different way, though. Like, they're plus 400 to make the playoffs. I actually like that, too.
I kind of like that. Yeah, I like plus 400 to make the playoffs.
Like,
don't like 20 to 1 to win the division.
Burrow is a really good bet this year. Like, I think, like, and, you know, there are people we respect who hate his arm. There are people we respect who think he's, like, overrated. But at the same time, like, when you think about, you know, leadership, you think about the weapons they have, the offensive line being fortified with, you know, with what they picked in the second round. Zach Taylor, year 3, has to come around there. Defense, they've gotten players, Mike Hilton, Jacoby Awuzie, Trey Hendricks. Like, they got some players on the defensive side of the ball that can contribute. I don't hate them, you know, in a 7-team playoff. AFC South's getting 1 team this year, right?
Yep.
You know, assume Rodgers doesn't go to Denver. Like, how many does the AFC West get? Maybe 2. And, you know, this division could end up with the 3, and, you know, it could be them.
I 100% agree. And I think who the best division in the AFC is depends a lot on whether Aaron Rodgers ends up in the West. But right now, I really do think it's the AFC North. And I don't think it's all that close. Like, if Joe Burrow can continue on that path, I mean, their offensive line is going to be better. It is. And I know people are shitting themselves because they were so bad last year. It is going to be better. It's also going to be helped by the fact that the receiving core is better. Over 6.5 is not my favorite bet in this division, but it's my second favorite one. I would make it right now, along with the Steelers. So those are 2 of the probably 4 or 5 that I'm making in this tranche of win totals here. We have some buddies over at DraftKings, and they are hooking you up for the fight this weekend. It's Canelo Alvarez, and he's fighting some guy. I don't even know his name. I think his name's Billy Bob Joe Saunders or something like that. It doesn't really matter. The point is that if you use promo code PFF at DraftKings Sportsbook, you can bet $1 to win $55 if you just pick the winner of this fight. So I'm guessing Canelo's favored because he's the only guy whose name I know. So go make it happen. Get those $55 and then go bet them on, either futures of some kind, win totals, whatever it might be, from this podcast. Remember, you need to download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Use promo code PFF to get those 55-1 odds. You must be 21 or older. New Jersey, Indiana, Pennsylvania. New customers only. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. If you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER, or in Indiana, 1-800-9-WITH-IT. Let's go AFC South next, and then we'll close out with the East.
Okay, so let's start with Houston. I think I saw it as low as.
Let me just I'll name the numbers real quick.
Okay.
Houston 3.5, -110 both sides. Jaguars 6.5, +110 over, -134 under. Titans 9.5, +123 over, -150 the under. That has stayed the same the entire time. And our Indianapolis Colts 10 is their total, +110 over, -134 under.
Yeah.
So you want to talk about Houston?
The Texans aren't trying to win.
You sure about that?
I'm not going under 4, 3.5, wherever it is today. It did go down a full win as a result of the draft,
which is kind of ridiculous.
I mean, look, Davis Mills was one of the biggest smoke screens in the draft, and when Houston saw Mond and Trask come off the board, I think they panicked and took Mills.
1,000%.
Which is just absurd.
Let me ask you this question. Now, let's not ignore. If the allegations are true, Deshaun Watson is a reprehensible human being and should be punished and should not play in the NFL. But we're talking about betting numbers here, and I want to know what you think the chances are Deshaun Watson plays for the Texans, Deshaun Watson plays for another team, or Deshaun Watson does not play this season.
I think the chance he plays for another team are almost zero in 2021. Given his contract, right? Newly signed, probably difficult to trade, and obviously all the allegations, the issues there. And again, we have no reason to disbelieve the allegations, and we have no reason, but we have no idea what will happen. I think there is, I would say it's 50-50 that he plays some games, but there's almost no chance he plays every game. I think he's going to be suspended 8.5 games, or 8 games or whatever it is. So you have 9 games, and if you get 9 games with him, you might think that they could win 4 of them. But you're also talking about bring him onto a team where he's new head coach, new OC, new everything, and so it's just an odd situation.
It turns out is a weird motherfucker.
Yes,
that's a tough one. I would say this: if I had to bet this, I would bet the over. I would think a combination of the chance of Watson playing a few games, the fact that it's 3.5, and here's the biggest one. I think this division stinks.
Yeah, the division is awful. I mean, and so our colleague and friend Kevin Cole tweeted out that he thinks that Lawrence is the consensus QB1 in rookie drafts. And I have come around to this, and this is why. That division is bad, including Jacksonville. Every single defense in that division, except for maybe the Colts, is an atrocity. And so quarterbacks in this division are absolutely going to eat. And
he's also got a rushing floor.
Yes.
I agree 1,000% with that take, and he's going to get all of the reps.
Yeah, they're not putting Gardner in as good as Gardner. Gardner Minshew now a top 3 backup quarterback in the NFL, but they're not.
Gardner. Here's an interesting.
They should trade Gardner to Houston.
Yes,
because
the only way to resurrect the Texans franchise is for Gardner Minshew to go there. That's the only. You need a person with that type of bravado. That type of
Jags, by the way, down to 7-1.
You need
they were 8-1 going into the weekend, 7.5-1 mid-weekend. Now 7-1.
Gardner Minshew's energy to resurrect
Titans
the Houston
out
Texans.
To plus 130. Let's talk about the Titans for a second here.
Yes,
I think the Titans are very similar to what Minnesota represented last year, which is a team coming off a playoff berth, a very good offense that's buoyed a little bit by a great offensive coordinator who left. A defense that lost a lot of veteran players that acquired a lot of rookies in a draft in a still pandemic offseason where a lot of us are going to gravitate towards that draft and say, oh my God, they got Caleb Farley. Oh my God, they got X, Y, and Z. And I'm going to pump the brakes and say, no, it's going to take longer than just one offseason to incorporate. So I think Tennessee is a classic good offense, losing a coordinator and losing a weapon in Corey Davis and Jonnu Smith. Mm-hmm. Dog shit defense. I think Tennessee is a lemon this year.
What's their no to make the playoffs?
Plus 107. I believe I got it at plus 125 earlier this season.
That is my favorite bet of the AFC South. I'm not going to bet under 9.5 at minus
plus
107. I'm going to bet them not to make the playoffs. This division sucks. I don't think the Colts are very good either.
The Colts are analytically sound.
Yes.
Functional. But I can get behind the Colts.
I believe in Frank Reich. Yes, I believe in Frank Reich. I think Frank Reich could come close to winning 10 games with you or I at quarterback. He's awesome. So I'm not going to bet. While I think mathematically one of the best bets in this division, aside from the Texans over, but it's the Texans, is the Colts under. But instead of that, I believe that Titans know to make the playoffs is the one here. I think the division winner from this division gets in, and that's it. Look at the other divisions here. The AFC East, the Bills and the Dolphins, awesome. The Patriots ascending. The North, the Ravens and the Browns, awesome. The Bengals ascending. The West, the Chiefs, awesome. The Broncos potentially awesome as well. And the Chargers ascending.
Yeah.
Like, this is if you think two teams from this division are going, you, my friend, need to lay off the crystal meth. All right. Let's
I just went to my nose as though I was,
Let me ask you really quickly, because Carson Wentz was really bad last year and has been not great for a little while. Do you buy into, because you just talked about the Eagles being kind of a not potentially functional organization right now. The Colts may be one of the most functional. And we all know this. Like, we have worked in and places and with people where things are not functional, and talented people suck in those situations. It happens. Do you think that the functionality of the Colts is enough to resurrect Carson Wentz?
Sure, of course I do. Yeah, I think it's probably a coin flip though. Like, I think that Davis Mills almost has a 0% chance of success in Houston. I think that Carson Wentz has like a 50% chance of success in Indianapolis. And I think that's the bet that Indianapolis is making with what they gave up.
So 50-50 is not
great. Exactly what it is to win the division, by the way. Yeah. Like, so that's why I think if you're going to bet the division here, you still, I got something like 11-1 on the Jags. If you 7-1 still seems like a fairly decent bet. They got talent. They also have, Darrell Bevel working with Trevor Lawrence. He's had success working with other young quarterbacks, Russell Wilson included. So, that's the upside in the division. Everything else just sucks because you're hoping the Colts hang on, right? That's all you're doing here. You're hoping Tennessee hangs on. Like, Tennessee's not going to be more fun to watch than they were last year. Like, Derrick Henry's not getting 2,500 yards. A.J. Brown is awesome, but he's not getting 1,500 yards. Like, this is going to be a slog.
You know what A.J. Brown is getting?
200 targets.
All the attention of the defense.
And yes.
That's what he's getting. He's getting every defender's eyes. That's what he will be getting. Let's move to the AFC East, because this division is way more interesting.
Yeah.
Way more interesting. The Buffalo Bills, 10.5, -155 over. That is moved out from -110. The Dolphins, and +127 to the under. The Dolphins are 9. This is now moved out to -134, +110. The Patriots, exactly the same. And the New York Football Jets, 6.5, +133 over, -162 under. Where do you want to start?
Let's eliminate the Jets here for a second. So, okay. The Jets over 6.5 +123. I think that's the only side of that bet you can take. Agreed. I like Zach Wilson as a prospect. I like what Robert Salah is doing as a head coach. When you got a head coach and a quarterback, you're halfway to everything. Mm-hmm. I thought their draft, other than trading up with Minnesota, I thought they drafted good players.
That was Carter. A fairly bad move, though.
Yeah. Exactly. No, for sure. But they didn't compound it by drafting bad players.
So Elijah Moore, if you look at this draft and you go, sorry to cut you off, but if you look at this draft and you go, why is 6.5 exciting? It's not Zach Wilson. You knew they were taking Zach Wilson. It's, I think, the Elijah Moore side of things where you go, oh, shit, they could have a good receiving core. That would be exciting.
Elijah Vera Tucker as well, right? Like, I think, you put him with Becton, you were already to, like, a really good place.
Yeah. By the way, Becton looks to be hitting the high side of variance that we referenced last year, right? Mm-hmm. The reason you don't take him isn't that he doesn't have the potential. It's that it's the Trey Lance thing.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, I'm in agreement with you there on over the Jets, especially at a plus price. Let's talk about the Dolphins and the Patriots now, because they're both 9, -134. And I would like to say something. I think it's fucking ridiculous. The Miami Dolphins are a better team than New England Patriots.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that one has not made sense. You're still giving Bill way too much credit.
You are giving Bill a lot of credit. Now, he deserves it. But, look, so I think that Cam Newton comes out and he gives it everything, okay? Let me tell you something. Do you know that if you said, okay, I want you to create for me the quarterback that would motivate Cam Newton the most, out of the lab would literally come striding the same way he strode to the podium, Mac Jones. That is maybe they took Mac Jones and said, you know what, we like Mac Jones, but also this will motivate Cam Newton more than anything else we could possibly do. Okay, that's great. The receivers still suck. The receivers are awful, and I don't know how else to put it. And I get that they have tight ends. The receivers are not good in a league that is won with passing 2 receivers. I don't get it. The Miami Dolphins, on the other hand, have, in my opinion, one of the better receiving cores in the NFL. Will Fuller, Jalen Waddle, Mike Gesicki, Jakeem Grant. These guys are fast. They will get open. Putting Tua into a situation where he had to throw jump balls to Devontae Parker was asking for shit. This is putting him in a position to do what he does best. The defense, I thought Javon Holland, a diverse safety slot guy that can play all over the field, was an awesome pick. Their second pick was Jalen Phillips, the best pass rusher. Now, he might not have longevity because of his concussion issue, but I'd expect him to play this year, and I expect him to be good. So I think it's patently ridiculous that the Miami Dolphins are being thought of as equally yoked as the New England Patriots. I would definitely not bet the Patriots over. And I think I would take the Dolphins. Now, I have to check if I've actually made this bet already. But as of right now, look, the Dolphins were minus 121. If I hadn't made a bet already, I think I would go over.
Yeah, they're the better bet than the New England Patriots, I think, and it's not particularly close. The thing I like about the Dolphins is they're somehow threading the needle of competing while also figuring out whether or not their quarterback is any good. That is tough to do, and they're going to go into next year with multiple draft picks as well in the early rounds. So they're really, I mean, let this be a lesson to every single fucking team in the NFL. 2018 Dolphins were 7-9, a very bad 7-9, like fundamentally a 4-win team that won 7 games. They fire Adam Gase. They tank for not even one season, for one half of one season. And a year and a half later, here they are, not only competing, but also like still like building. Like it's not that hard if you're not, if you identify the dumb teams like the Dolphins have and you trade exclusively with them.
I'm in agreement. 100% agreement. I
co-sign. Another shot at the Steelers, by the way.
Yeah, it was good. It's well done. That said, 9 is a high number. To have 3 teams in a division, 9 or better, is saying something. You look.
What do we think about Buffalo? Because I think the hard part is, and it's this way for me with Herbert too, is that Herbert certainly exceeded my expectations last year, 100%. Mm-hmm. And you take your L or whatever, and you oftentimes will avoid what I would consider to be a smart analysis on subsequent play, which is that for Herbert, it's his play was super unstable in the unstable parts, not quite as good in the stable parts. If he regresses, don't blame me. Mm-hmm. When you look at Buffalo does a lot of things right. They got a great coach. They got great front office. They build the team almost the exact same way we would. We were all wrong about Josh Allen, right? Mm-hmm. Come back here for a second. So 2 seasons of poor play at the quarterback position followed by 1 great year with a lot of turnover-worthy plays and a lot of self-induced sacks, a lot of luck. This isn't to say that we think Josh Allen sucks, but is there regression that makes under 10.5 plus 127 a bet to make? Because, again, I still think Josh Allen's worthy of the contract extension at the end. I think he has that kind of high-end talent. I think he can elevate the play of people around him. Broadly speaking, we were wrong about him. But in this particular season, I don't think these progressions are linear for these players. I think you have a bump and you have a regression.
So I'm so torn because I agree. I think that at plus 127, under 10.5 is a smart bet. But here's the other thing. I could see the Buffalo Bills winning 14 games. I am a huge believer in Sean McDermott. I love that they brought in Emmanuel Sanders. I think that receiving core is awesome. And Josh Allen's has at least figured out, maybe not figured out, but like the scale is tipped so much by his positivity that, you know, the
analyses like us are afraid of coming back and saying
the bouts of negativity.
Is this sustainable? Yes.
But what he did, I mean, he had a couple off games, you know, followed by some really efficient games. This terror for me is that I really do think the Bills have the potential to be right, you know, to be right there again with the Chiefs. It's so hard for me. So I think it's a smart mathematical bet if you close your eyes and blindly bet the board.
Yeah, you have to hold your nose to do that, though. And in a league where, remember last season, we all thought, okay, with 7 playoff teams, there's going to be some bad teams in the playoffs. And that was certainly true about the Bears in the NFC. But in the AFC, every single team that made the playoffs was 11 wins or better. And the Dolphins were 10-6, and they couldn't make the playoffs. Why was that? Because there were dog shit teams like the Jets and the Jaguars just handing wins to every team. If you assume because the one team in the AFC that's going to be the punching bag is the Houston. Other than that, if you think that like there's no incentive for the Jets to be bad, there's no incentive for the Jaguars to be bad anymore. If you spread the love out a little bit, then under for some of these good teams is going to be more sharp, or it's going to have better outcomes than a season ago.
I'll also point this out for Josh Allen. Like, he started out the season on fire, right? And then he had a little bit of a lull. But I do believe that there was a little injury situation there. Now, they lose to Arizona in a game that he didn't play great in overall, but did actually lead them back, and they should have won that game. And then they ripped off, I want to say, 8 straight wins, and he was fantastic. So you could make a narrative where, you know, he just keeps that puppy rolling, and they're fantastic because here's what the Bills do. This is why they scare me. If Josh Allen plays anywhere near as well as he did last year, that organization will get the most out of it. You will not see him play well and the team not do well. You know what I'm saying? So, like, that's the part that really scares me. And that's the tip of the cap to the Bills. So I'm actually going to lay off that one. My personal, my bets out of here would be, I think you could either go, you could go Dolphins over, you could go Patriots under if you feel a certain way. I think the way that I will go with it is I would bet the Jets over right now if I had to, given that I've already bet the Dolphins.
Yeah.
Anything to add there?
No,
what are Dolphins to make playoffs?
Good question. Let me look here. Oh, yeah. So
I could just look it up. Plus 130. That is my bet.
That's a good bet.
Dolphins plus 130 to make the playoffs. I was searching for that, getting there. I got there.
You got the headspace there.
We figured it out. Anything else to close out this discussion?
No, I'm excited that the offseason is starting to crystallize. We're May 12th. We'll see the schedule released. Are we doing anything fun for that?
We'll watch it.
Okay.
We'll run the simulations.
We'll run this. I was going to say because we'll run the simulation after. We'll have, obviously
should we do a little? Maybe what's the 12th?
We teased people a little bit.
The 12th is a Wednesday. So that's perfect.
Yeah.
The schedule release will happen.
We could have a live PFF forecast for the schedule
Let's
release.
go live.
Yeah,
we'll bring people in. You guys that have been watching us, when we go live, we're on StreamYard. You can put comments. We'll put them up there. That'll be a lot of fun. We'll do that on Wednesday. And until then, please pray for us. I'm going to pray for you mostly. The big guy in Vegas, it's a treat. We'll see you guys.